Next question. Who's your favorite animal on the farm?
Earl.
Really?
Oh gosh. I mean, it's hard not to pick dogs though. Earl and
Sure.
Bella.
Well, okay.
are like,
Let me take out the dogs because obviously the dogs are very vital part of the channel. Your favorite livestock animal on the farm?
oh gosh.
Please don't say goose.
No, I as goofy as it sounds, I really can't. I don't want my wife to hear this, but I really like Phoebe, little donkey, the baby bottle donkey, like because she's just like.
If DJ hears this, she will put this on repeat on her phone.
I know, but she's like those little baby donkeys have so much personality. It's almost like they want to give you a hug. Like you squat down and they just like right there.
Well, I mean, they saw the clip with Sarah. I mean, Sarah was hunkered down giving Phoebe treats, and that's exactly what Fallon was trying to do. She was technically trying to hug her. She was trying to come up and put her head over her shoulder and like nuzzle her, but she knocked her down because Sarah wasn't expecting her to be there. But that's exactly what they did.
I mean, they just have so much personality. Like the alpacas are cool. Like RJ's neat right now. RJ's, like a month and a half old baby alpaca. It's just like a miracle story.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have happened, but he's fun to watch and he's really curious. And like, you'll just walk out there and like, he'll just walk up and stick his nose up to the camera. Like, what do you got? You know?
He's curious,
and
super curious.
He's very curious, but they're not friendly animals. Just
right.
You know what I mean? They don't, the personality wise. And like the goats, I mean, I like Copper's fun to play with and he's just goofy, like, hey, what's going on? You know, but personality wise, you can't beat the donkeys. They just interact with people so much better than the other livestock.
And it's crazy because like when we were out there and we filmed that video out there at Charles Place, I mean, obviously Sarah was all about the donkeys. That's one of the main reasons we wanted to go out there and film was because of that. But it was amazing to me. Like it's not even a personal thing. Like they came up to us the same way. It didn't matter. Like the goats and Ralph and Steve, like they ended up coming up to us by the end of the day. Once I fed them,
when you carry a bucket of feed, they're like,
well, yeah, but
you're my best friend.
Yeah, but but the donkeys, like even before we did anything, like the second we stepped in the pen, it's like whoosh, they swarm you. Like they are definitely have their own little personality. So it doesn't really surprise me much that you picked one of the donkeys to be.
Phoebe and Fallon, those two especially, they're just. My wife has spent so much time out there with them, and when they were little bitty, of course, Phoebe was a bottle baby. She required a lot of time, but Fallon just happened to be born right at that perfect time where we were just hands on with them 4 or 5 times a day when you're bottle feeding. So Fallon, you're bottle feeding Phoebe, and Fallon's just right there. So she's just got this personality. Their personalities are more like dogs.
Yeah, they are.
Those babies are.
When you go out there, they for sure are. And it's crazy because I don't know if you guys watch Arms Family, you know this, but what's crazy is so the one that he's talking about, Phoebe, which you guys have seen on our channel now, she's like the little paint Jenny. They bought her when Fallon was born. You had to pull her, like it was bad. Like Freedom, your female donkey, she was about
almost
dead.
died.
Yeah. But she was totally different the second time around, right?
So the first time, so we started off with 2 miniature donkeys. They were free from a friend. A friend called me. He's like, "Please come get these donkeys." I said, "I don't want them." So I told DJ, and we went and got the donkeys.
Yeah, should have told DJ if you didn't want them.
And that was Freedom and Steve, and they were not handled a lot. Yeah. They weren't wild, but they didn't want to be touched. They weren't halter broke. The first Freedom was pregnant when we got her, and ended up having this baby, and we named him Kane because of a friend of ours. But when Freedom had that baby, she would not let you anywhere near it. She would literally spin around and just kick you out of the pasture. I mean, she hated people being near that baby. Then the second time she had a baby was when I had to pull her. When Fallon was born, she was laying on the ground when I found her, and Steve, the male, was like dragging her around by her neck. I think he knew she was in distress, but didn't know how to fix it.
Right.
We should have had them separated. That was my fault. They shouldn't have been together, honestly, but it happened. And but anyway, she wasn't going to be able to have Fallon on her own. So when I pulled the baby and got her all out and everything, Freedom changed a lot.
You could almost see it on camera, yeah.
Yeah, and she always let us mess with the baby, and then she still doesn't like to be touched, but she'll come up and eat out of your hand now. Where used to, she didn't trust people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of neat to see, but
I remember that because I told Sarah when we watched that video that day, you had put it. I'd already knew you had a baby. I will tell you guys this, and I don't know that I've ever had this conversation, and I'll go back to that. But one of the downfalls to becoming friends with people that you're fans of is it kind of ruins the magic a little bit. Not from a standpoint that it doesn't happen, but a lot of times
in on the secret ahead of
yeah, a
time.
lot of times I'll get a snap or a text or something like that from Daniel, and I'll be like, oh man. I'm like, I don't even know what the video is going to be about this week. Like, I know what Tuesday's video is going to. So it's cool to be able to have a conversation anytime I want with Daniel Arms. That part of it's awesome. And then, but I cringe every time you send me a snap because when you normally like we're in a Snapchat group too. Normally like farm stuff I get through Snapchat, and like I'll pick my phone up and I'll have a snap from Daniel. And I'll be like, man, do I really want to open this? Because like I know, like last year when Houston shot the buck and you guys lost it. You know, that video ended on a cliffhanger. They can't find the deer. It's off in the woods. The sun's going down. The next day I get a text from Daniel, found Houston's deer. And I'm like, heck on it. I'm like, what? Now I know when the next video comes out that you're going to find the deer. I'm like, what's happening right now? So, but aside from that, it was, I told Sarah when I watched that video, I said that you could almost see Freedom's demeanor completely change towards you guys because we would watch you all a lot and seen you interact with her. And it was almost immediate. Like when you pulled that baby and she turned and started cleaning Fallon up, you could almost see an immediate change in her personality towards you guys.
It was like she didn't want to like us, but she was like,
now you've saved my life. I'm eternally indebted to you.
I'm like, yeah, I have to tolerate you now. And
yeah. I mean, it's cool to see that and see those animals out there interact with you guys. Lots of projects going on at Arms Family Homestead right now. I don't know how I told Daniel the other day, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna have to come out and help you film.
This year has been exceptionally hot and dry.
Yeah.
But we've had these certain projects that we wanted to do. You know, my wife's had this honey-do list of things that she wanted to get done. Some of them for years.
I feel like with as much stuff as you guys have going on right now, I feel like there was a threat made like a month ago. That's what I feel like happened. Like I feel like somewhere around a month ago, DJ was like, she drew a line in the sand, and Daniel was like, well, I'm going to do all the projects I've been promising you to do for the last 3 years, and we're going to do them all next week.
There's a deadline.
Like we're doing them all next week.
Well, it was like the outdoor kitchen. We've been talking about building an outdoor kitchen for a long time. We're out there on the patio all the time. We cook outside all the time. And when we built the patio, we had a drain and water plumbed in for an outdoor kitchen maybe 5 years ago. And it was one of those things I was like, we'll just do it ourselves. We're not paying somebody. We'll just do this.
Yeah.
And 5 years later, we don't have an outdoor kitchen. So we started calling around and trying to find somebody to help us out. And it literally was like, we're busy. It'll be this fall. But it was 110 degrees outside. Right. And it's just been brutally hot. Well, we did the Houston's little koi pond. You know, that was with Greg Whitstock, the pond guy. That was basically a YouTube collaboration. Well, when they planned all of that and bought all the rock for that, well, they made a deal with a company, and the guy was like, well, it'd be about the same price for me to drive a full semi-load of boulders there versus half a load. And they were like, so we got you an extra half a semi-load of rock.
Big rocks. You guys aren't watching. Boulders. We're talking big boulders, yeah.
And I said, well, I don't really need them. Well, my wife said, those look like perfect landscaping boulders for our flower beds. Well, I wasn't going to mess with that when it was 110 degrees.
Sure.
And the more we got to looking at it, and I was like, this is going to take a lot of man hours. Well, I have a friend that he's got a mowing company, and he was like, man, I've really been thinking about doing more landscaping, but I've never really done it much. But I'd like to take that on and try it, and we can kind of work together and figure it all out. And if you're not in a hurry, I'll probably wait until fall because I'm not mowing. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's fine. And then the barn situation, DJ's been wanting to add which we needed another little barn in that pasture and some stalls for when we have babies and stuff. And we'd called around and got some prices on things. And I was like, I could do it myself, but we got all these other projects. Found a guy that was like, yeah, I can be there. I'll do it. And it was like, probably September.
Everything's happening in September.
And then it was like everything lined up, and somehow they all broke free. Basically decided they could start their projects the same week. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was torn because I know this sounds really bad, but with YouTube and filming all that stuff and people seeing it, it's like I built a YouTube channel around this little small farm that was like a lot of people felt like we were supposed to be poor forever.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you buy something or you do something big, then people are like, oh, you shouldn't be able to do that. But
Yeah.
so I was torn because I feel like a lot of that stuff I'm supposed to do myself, like building the stalls in the barn. Could I have done it myself? Yes, but it's going to take me
Yeah.
a month of doing it a little bit here and there. And now we're kind of at a point with our YouTube channel and with sponsors and sponsored videos. So it's hard for me to decipher, or hard for me to know what's right, the right thing to do. But
Speaking of which, this is not a sponsored video by any of Daniel's.
today's video is sponsored by.
Yeah.
But if you got a sponsor that's willing to pay for a sponsored video, and they're going to pay you enough to cover, all the materials for a project,
Yep.
why not pay somebody that's a professional to do that? And I can put my time where my time needs to be, because if I spend all of my time out there welding up these stalls and welding up this barn and putting all this stuff up, I can make content about it, yes, but it takes away from family time
but you can
because
make
I'm going to be editing those videos at night.
And I would argue that you can make the same exact content as somebody else doing it.
Exactly.
And here's a unique thing that I don't know if you guys realize or not. And I know you guys see me, like one of the things I do with Daniel and him when they go to meet and greets and stuff like that. And like, I'm not part of Daniel's team. I just enjoy hanging out with them, but I always go and I help you guys take pictures and stuff like that. And I'm kind of almost like a camera guy for them at that point, but you don't have a camera guy or an editor and I would venture to guess you're probably one of the biggest channels that doesn't have a dedicated camera guy and a dedicated editor. You do it all yourself.
I enjoy what I do.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, adding to what you said,
Yeah.
your workload as a content creator at the size you are is a lot heavier than what a lot of people's are at your point.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, would it be neat to hire somebody to do editing and filming and all that? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But I think it would take away from you though, because you
Exactly.
have such a guerrilla style, and I think that's what your audience absolutely loves about your channel.
I used to try to make things fluffier and prettier. And Jason from Coghill Farm talks about the same thing. Jason runs a really cool channel, and we're going to actually get to see Jason today. He's speaking
afternoon.
at the conference. But Jason started YouTube on a farm and ran it. He talked about this at our Video Creators Conference. He was like,
huge Casey Neistat fan.
Jason ran a farm channel the way that Casey Neistat ran his vlog channel. And if you watched, it looked like Casey Neistat was just on a farm.
Yep.
It was amazing content, but his audience didn't like it because his audience was older folks.
Yep.
And they didn't watch Casey Neistat. They didn't care who Casey Neistat was.
Jason will tell you that there was a turning point in his YouTube career where he just made a off-the-cuff video, wasn't even really happy with it himself, I don't think.
No.
But when he put it out, it was like that's when his rise started.
It was like he made an intentional decision to go, I'm just going to take a camera, walk around and talk to it. I'm not going to put a bunch of crazy music. I'm not going to do crazy edits, because Jason would call me and say, man, how long does it take you to edit a video? And I'm like, I don't know, an hour. He's like, what?
Yeah.
I spent 7 hours on a video editing last night. I'm like, if that's what you want to do, that's great.
Yeah.
But my audience told me, if I was outside and I was doing something and a goat knocked my tripod over,
Leave it in.
I used to edit that out. And then every once in a while I'd leave it, and that was what people would comment about. They're like, oh my gosh, that was so funny.
cute, yep.
So if my camera fell over or if something goofy happened, I just made fun of myself and went on.
Yep.
And the audience loved it.
Yep.
So I didn't need this crazy
and I say
edits.
all the time, and I firmly believe this. There's no in between. You either have to film like we film, like in that guerrilla style, or you have to be so good at it, like the Casey Neistats and the Peter, because there's no in between. If you try to be Peter McKinnon or Casey Neistat and you're not at their level, people don't watch it. But if you go out and you do the guerrilla thing, they're like, it makes them feel like they're there with you. It gives you that rough look of, oh my gosh, I'm on Arms Family Homestead.
Well, I feel like that's my goal when I shoot, even if it's just on my phone.
Sure.
When I shoot a video, I try to tell the story in a way that I'm talking to the people that are watching like they're there.
Yeah.
And I want the people that are watching to feel like they're there. So yes, I may have some B-roll, some pretty shots here and there, but it's not just going to be like they're watching I don't want them watching a movie.
Right.
I want them walking across the yard with me and talking to the animals.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a big difference in those two styles of content.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, and that's, but with that, and it's funny because somebody asked you at the conference, I remember this vividly because I kind of turned and laughed at Sarah, or to Sarah, one of the questions somebody asked, and I'm not going to be able to remember it word for word, but it was basically, they're like, so when we see all these different angles, are you like, do you have cameras in all these places, or are you actually stopping, getting out of the tractor, and moving? And as I'm sitting there thinking, I know how he shoots. So normally, like a task that may take you at home 5 minutes might take Daniel 45 minutes.
Right.
Not because he's slow at doing that task, but it's because, you got to walk to the camera, put the camera down, go back, redo that again, go pick the camera up, change it, do all that. And then it's a task just to get all those different angles, but it makes it a really cool, like it adds to that element of them being there. Like they're seeing it from a different perspective, but they're still there with you.
Right. And it takes it back to like those projects that we've got all these different things going on right now. I feel like if I was going to go out and build that barn, I would have to make it a video series. And I don't really think people need to see step by step on how to build a shed for donkeys. There's 100 of those videos out there, or for whatever animal. So it's been really kind of freeing to me to actually let go and hire somebody and say, here's what we want, you do it, and then we're going to make content that people want to see.
Yeah.
Not putting screws in a barn, you
Right.
know? Because if that's what I'm doing, that's what I'm going to video.
Exactly.
And I just don't feel like my audience needs to see 10 videos of me building the barn when they could see the animals
Because
in the barn.
ultimately what they want is the end product anyways of them being in the barn. So
Now, that's not to say there's not a place out there for those how-to videos
yeah.
and how-to channels. Don't get me wrong. But at this point in our journey, I just think it makes more sense. I don't need to do 10 videos on landscaping my front yard. Just say, hey, here's what we're doing.
Yep.
I've got a really good friend that wants to take on this project to learn the landscaping business and the artistic side of it. He's enjoying it. I'm paying him to do it. We get great looking landscaping and good use of an extra half a semi-load of rocks.
yeah, exactly. And I want to kind of touch on, so as I told you guys, we had breakfast this morning. Daniel and I were talking about something. I want to kind of touch on that a little bit. We talked about, we call it swerving on our channel, like doing different things. And you've done that a few times on your channel where you went from gardening to farming and it's always an adjustment with your audience. And I told Daniel this morning, as you guys know, we draw a ton of inspiration from, almost to the point of copying them to an extent. I mean, I don't mind telling, I've told Daniel that with the micro farming in the backyard, and we pull a lot of, but the reason we did that is because when we started doing stuff with Daniel and DJ and we had the opportunity to work with them, we started noticing an influx of your audience coming over to our channel. Now,
Our sweet little old ladies.
yeah, and they're awesome, man. I mean, they really are. They comment, they're loyal. But I knew when we started getting an influx of audience from you that they were not going to come over here and stick around on mine and Sarah's channel and watch me fish 3 times a week. So we started trying to swerve and implement things that we knew that our OG audience, our original cast, would still enjoy, but that these new people that were coming over, that they would. And I think a lot of people refuse to do that.
So you want to know where all that came from originally? First off, when I first started on YouTube, everybody was like, you need to pick a genre and you do it. And
Yeah.
You don't do anything else.
know,
You
yeah.
stay in your lane, and you if you're a fishing channel, you go fishing. That's it.
Yeah.
They don't care about anything else. But then there was this guy
Yeah.
in Pensacola,
Who
Florida.
sits right over there at that desk?
There was this guy that I used to watch he was like just a little bit bigger channel than me, like Yak Motley. He was a kayak fisherman. Most of you might not believe that.
Yeah.
But Jack had about 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers when I first started following him because we had gone on vacation to Pensacola. What do you do when you go on vacation? You get on YouTube and you find out what's going on in that area. What's there to do? Well, there's this guy named Yak Motley that's posting all kinds of the coolest content about Pensacola. So I got hooked on his channel, started commenting. He was growing just a little bit faster than me. And so it was like this competition that I made. I don't even think he knew about, but I was like always chasing Jack. But his theory was YouTube's like a big wall and you're just throwing mud balls, and whatever mud ball you throw sticks. Some of them are going to fall off. If you throw a ball of mud up there and it sticks, throw a bunch more of them.
Yeah.
And then eventually
kind of-
those might not stick anymore. Throw something else. And I was like, that's totally wrong.
Yeah.
That's not what the experts say to do. But I knew I would get bored if I was just a gardening channel.
Yes.
And my content would get old and I would fade out in a hurry. I'm not going to say Jack was the end all be all know it all of YouTube, but the experts were wrong. Like, I feel like and watching his channel succeed doing random things, and seeing one video would be him and Samantha on the beach checking out a restaurant, and then the next one he might be cleaning his headlights with toothpaste, you know. But it worked.
WD-40.
WD-40, yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, I think he did a toothpaste one too.
Oh, dude, that's the thing with Jack though. Once he did the WD-40, he took off. He probably cleaned his headlights with every single thing he had in his garage.
Well, I don't blame him.
Right, and why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But
he probably paid for his Toyota with a can of WD-40.
That's exactly right. And it's crazy because everything about this industry tells you to stay in your niche or stay in your lane. And I think that's true to an extent. And I mean, I've had this conversation with you. A lot of times Daniel's my, he's who I rant to. Like if I'm not happy with the way things are going, a lot of times I'll pick up the phone and I'll call Daniel and I'll be like, what in the world? So, yeah. But Daniel, usually talks me down and gets me through it, whether I'm thinking about doing something extremely crazy or not. But I think it's all on how you do it too, because like I know, like I said, we take a lot of inspiration from you all, but I didn't just go out and just start making garden videos. Daniel and I had extensive conversations about this when I first started doing it, and he's like, take 30 seconds at the end of your video and mess with your garden. And then next week, do a minute. And that's exactly what we did. I mean, I literally followed basically what you told me to a T, and it worked because a month and a half in, I called Daniel one day and I was like, dude, I didn't put a garden in the video for like 3 days, 3 videos, and I'm getting all these comments. Mob. Yeah, wanting to know where the garden is. Did I kill it? Like, that was the thing. They're like, did you kill your whole garden? Because I haven't seen it. Same thing with the chickens. We slowly rolled out the chickens, and then I didn't put them in a video. I think I was on the road for like 2 weeks or something like that, and I didn't have any chicken content. And I was posting from the road. A lot of times when we're on the road, we're posting from wherever we're at. I'm getting these comments like, did you kill all your chickens? You didn't feed them, did you? Did you not give them fresh water? And I'm like, have you been watching Lester? Like, what's happening right now? So, so I would call Sarah and I'd be like, hey, I need you to go out there and do something with the chickens so I can show them. But I think when you add different stuff to your videos, and I think that's one of the things, like going back and watching your videos, you've always done well with. You never just jumped ship. You always kind of eased out of the garden into the animals or whatever you were doing. And now I always tell Della, I cannot talk. I'm getting tongue tied. You can tell we've hit the hour threshold.
He's nervous.
I was nervous. I'll talk about that in a minute because we're definitely going over an hour. But you've done a great job of moving that stuff in. But the one thing that you've always done is you've kept your audience, like no matter how big you've gotten, they love what you guys do. And I've told Daniel, like, I don't want to use the word jealous because one of my biggest pet peeves that I ever hear people say is the words, it must be nice. Must be nice. And I hate those words. And so I am jealous of you, but it's not because of, I don't feel like you worked for it. You've done such a great job of building an audience. Just like you talked about the last video you put up, you basically just went out and gave everybody an update of your farm. And because of the culture you guys have built on your channel, you can do that and your audience still just eats it up.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, if you do a video and you don't show the chickens, for 2 weeks, people are like, what? And we've got such a diverse group of animals now. Like, I have to go out and go, okay, they're all still here. Because you don't know who you may know now who my favorite animals are, but my audience, everybody's different. Like, there's somebody out there that likes that one goat specifically because it stands over there by itself and they can relate.
You know who nobody likes? Goose. Man, when we were out there, I was like, trying to film, and I'm sure you're used to it. Like, it just does it, but y'all don't understand. Like, I know y'all hear it in the videos. Y'all are watching Arms Family Homestead videos, but it is nonstop. I don't care what.
And the louder you talk, the louder it gets.
Goose is nuts. She's just like, the whole time you're out there, and I'm just like, we're about to have roasted goose for dinner because I'm about ready to take one of the animals on the Arms Family Homestead.
Well, a lot of geese, a lot of places you go, if they have any kind of goose or geese, they run at you and they hiss and they're just like, they're hateful. Yeah. Well, this one doesn't do that.
No, she doesn't.
She just stays about 5 feet away, and when you talk, she's like, rah, 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 and then you talk a little louder, and she's like, rah, rah.
Yeah, she just does. Yeah. And that's her name, right?
Goose. Yeah, we just call her Goose.
I nicknamed her Karen when I was out there. That's what I wanted to call her, was Karen, because I was like, golly, that and Bella. For you guys that don't know, Bella is Daniel's dog. And no matter what you're doing, if Bella's around, that's what you just heard right there. That's what you hear, because she does it all the time. We didn't see the dogs much when we were doing the farm video, but I think it was they were somewhere else. I don't want to ruin the magic for anybody, but
when you went to the creek.
Yeah, but when I went to the creek, everybody came with me, and then Earl is a fish thief. He'll try to take fish out of your hand. And Bella just literally attached her. I guess she just likes guys. I mean, it just seems like that. She's always by you, but Bella literally just attached herself to my hip pocket, and all you could hear in my microphone the whole time was, and I'm like, I breathe hard, but Bella's like putting me to work over here with the breathing because she's going crazy.
You know, and I every once in a while will get a hateful comment when she's around doing that, you know, but then I'll also get comments, well, we sure know Bella's there by your side.
Yeah.
You don't have to show her. We know Bella's always there by your side. And,
yeah,
you know, it's just something about a dog like that. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. She's, Bella's, she's a, I mean, every one of your dogs they all have their own personalities. The only one I would say that, are people attached to Gemma? She just seems
There's
like she's
dachshund lovers.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so when they see her, they're like, that's my dog. That's what.
Gotcha.
But Gemma's this tall and weighs 10 pounds, and she's by far the meanest dog we've got on the farm for sure.
Yeah, she's funny because she's used to me now. I feel like the first time we went out there, she was a little like she didn't care much for me. And then this last time we were there, after about 5 minutes of Sarah and I being in the house, she finally I was sitting in the recliner and she kind of come over and got on the footstool and looked at me like, if you're going to do this, just pet me. Because apparently I'm going to have to deal with you. So,
yeah.
And then she was fine for the rest of the day after that. So.
But the difference in every breed of dog's different, but like Bella is a lab, and a lab, their whole goal in life is to make you happy.
Yep, that's it.
A dachshund, their whole goal in life is for you to make them happy. Like, you don't own a weenie dog. They own you.
Yeah, they're very much
and
like a wife.
they know it.
Yeah, they're very much like a wife.
I think I got to go.
Daniel's like, I'm getting out of here on that comment. But yeah, it's so cool to be out there. And I do want to touch on one thing, and then we'll wrap this up. I know we're getting a little long. We'll probably have to break this one up into 2 episodes. But we talked about the creek, and I kind of want to go back to that because obviously, as you guys see, Daniel's wearing a Creek Life shirt, and then you guys have been very successful, not only with merch, but almost building a clothing brand of Creek Life stuff, where it's just, I mean, obviously
We're trying.
Yeah.
So every YouTube, I feel like, especially 4 or 5 years ago, it felt like that was something you had to do. If you had a YouTube channel, you had to sell merch. I mean, that was like the Logan Paul thing started, you know, and they, you know, the Paul brothers or whatever. And of course, everybody did it, but everybody wanted. I don't know. DJ and I started off with merch, like with drop ship companies, just Bonfire. Hey, if you want to buy a shirt, go to Bonfire and they'll ship it to you in 3 weeks or whatever. Sell a few shirts. And then we hired a company in Oklahoma City. It was a total train wreck disaster. It was supposed to be an amazing company that was going to take our merch and just blow it up. It was a train wreck and terrible. So DJ she was like, we need to do our own merch. And I was working full time. I was like, there's no way. We don't have time. And then when I left the patrol, it was something that she really wanted to do. She's like, we need to do this. I was like, okay, we sell like 20 T-shirts a month, so all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I saw it as an opportunity, as a business opportunity, and I know from the way watching my channel evolve over time and watching other YouTube channels evolve, like Matt from Demolition Ranch and Off the Ranch has built Bunker Branding into a massive clothing company.
Yep.
Started in his garage. Granger Smith has Yee Apparel. And I've got to know Granger really well and his brothers. And Yee Apparel started in Granger's garage. And I was like, okay, so what is it about? Why was that successful? Well, because it was the story.
Yeah.
It was something that people felt like they were drawn to. So we were like, okay, if we're going to sell our own merch, we can't just, we're selling merch and here it is. We built this story around remodeling our garage, and we showed buying a heat press and told the whole story of how we were going to do it. And I feel like it allowed our audience to go, okay, if I buy a shirt, it's 100% helping you.
Yes.
It's supporting that family.
Yep.
Versus if you just buy it off of a link and there's no tie to it, they're supporting a corporation and you're making a percentage.
Right.
And they know that.
Yep.
So I built this story around our merchandise. I'm like, hey, we're going to try this. And we launched right before Christmas in 2020, like November 15th. And DJ was like, well, so we're gonna buy screens, the heat press screens, and we'll buy a bunch of blanks, but let's get started. Well, we had a friend that did screen printing. We bought 200 shirts. That includes adults and youth, everything, 200 total, just to get us started so we can launch, and then we'll make after we run out. Well, that 200, when we launched, sold in like the first day or two.
A day, yeah.
And then we went through the cycle of, oh my gosh, we were printing shirts. We had her mom and stepdad and our kids and everybody like, after work, come to the house, we'll buy pizza and we'll make shirts and ship. And it just exploded. And I saw that our audience like really took that really well. That story. We built a story around it and was, hey, here's like, you was talking about wanting to make me cry. Like I did a video sitting in our garage, putting some kitchen cabinets in our garage because DJ wanted like a little kitchen area.
Yeah.
And I showed pictures of when I was a kid and like my dad and his friends, you know, holding up big stringers of fish because my parents lived in that garage while they built the house. And I've got pictures of like the house is half done, but all the men are like, hey, look at all our fish, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, my mom was living in a garage going, could we please build our house?
Can we build a house to stop fishing?
Right. And that's that story. Like my audience loved to hear that.
Yes.
And I was sitting in my garage one day crying, talking about my dad and the history of where I grew up. And I'm like, why am I crying about this? But it was real, you know, and people respond. They want to know. They want to know the whole story.
Sure. And it's, you know, it's funny because, and I saw this yesterday with you. I still get it. Lucky for us, like the people we've gotten to work with, we are a very small channel compared to our popularity. And it's just, that's the fact of the matter. And that's not me boasting or bragging. I don't mean to sound like that, but
you only hang out with the cool kids.
That's well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of, that's the truth. I mean, because of the nature of who we hang around. I mean, like between you and Brant and Darcizzle and the John Dalton. I mean, we are with some big names. So we're highly recognizable content creators. So I get so many times, and I heard this happen with you yesterday, and it even happened with us. People will walk up, they'll shake our hand, and the words are always the same. You don't know me, but I feel like I know you. Mm-hmm. And it happens, and it's so true because when we do open up our lives to the internet or to whoever's out there for an hour a week or whatever it is, you know, you do, those people get to know you and they feel like a part. I mean, I don't want to like call anybody out, but there was a young lady that came up to DJ yesterday and she was literally just in tears. It meant so much to her. She had her Do Your Best t-shirt on. And it meant so much to her to just have an opportunity to talk to DJ because it was one of those deals where she feels so connected to her through the channel. And we get that a lot. And that's why we continue making videos. Yeah. People count on them.
And that was one of the, so for years, DJ was not on board with YouTube and she did not want to be on camera. It was just awkward. It was weird. She didn't care that I did it, but she just didn't want to do it herself. And I tried forever to talk her into it. And once we started doing those little podcasts in our living room videos, that kind of like got her interested in it. So we use that to bridge the gap to start her channel.
I feel like I should turn the monster voice on because that was your evil plan all along. We all know.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it did.
But I used, if we'd have just went out and said, oh, DJ's starting a channel, and gave it a shout out, it'd have picked up some subscribers.
Sure.
But we put her on the Arms Family Homestead channel once a week doing a podcast, her and I sitting on the couch talking, and people could see her genuine like emotions and care and compassion, and they got to know, oh, I mean, DJ, I like watching her. Yeah. So then we started her channel and it just took off. But it's been really cool getting to see her respond to the feedback, the comments, and the emails and the messages, and she's such a good communicator on video. Yeah. Like she thought she sucked on camera, and she's way better than most of us.
And I think this goes back to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, as much as people are looking for wholesome content, they're really, really looking for women in the same boat as them to look up to. Mm-hmm. I really feel like that. Sarah gets that a lot. I'm sure DJ sees it a lot because there are a lot of moms out there, because let's just face it, we live in a society now where very, very few women get to be stay-at-home moms anymore. It's not a thing. And so it's a balancing act. And of course, we're talking as two guys sitting here, but I feel like it's a balancing act for a lot of women to, you know, sports and cooking and being the mom and the wife and all that. And I think what DJ brings to the table, I think she is a perfect role model for people to look at and be like, golly, she's doing all these things. and she's able to share her story and her success. And I think that means a lot to a lot of people.
But one thing you said though is not many moms get to be a stay-at-home mom. I'll say this: it was hard, and it was a decision that we sat down as a couple and made before Emily was born. She's 14 now, and DJ said, "Listen, I want to stay at home with my babies."
Yep.
It's not that most moms can't. It's a decision that they've got to sit down and make, and we struggled for years because I was a fairly new trooper and not making a ton of money, but we made the decision she wasn't going to work. She wasn't going to be bringing in money. She was going to stay home, and we had to adjust our lifestyle tremendously.
Yeah.
And I was working full time, but I also mowed lawns on the side, and I also was selling vegetables at farmers markets and doing everything I could to put a little spending money in our pocket because my paycheck just barely paid the bills.
Yeah.
And it was a conscious family decision for her to stay home I don't feel like that a lot of people are willing to sacrifice for.
Oh, I agree 100% with that. It is one of those deals where you do have to give up. I mean, Sarah stayed home for the first 2 years with Chase. She didn't with Landon because at the time she was the director of a daycare, so it was easier then 'cause she was with him. But I remember, like, it's crazy. You do have to sacrifice a lot. People don't understand what it takes for it to be a single, especially in today's day. You know, back in the day, you could have the mom stayed home. That's just what happened. I mean, it was way different time back then. But in our lifetime, it's definitely more of a two income per household world we live in now for sure. So then, and I just think it's so important as Daniel said earlier, Sarah started a channel, which I'm sure most of you guys have already heard about. You said that I was on the same boat as you yesterday. Daniel made a comment yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah,
jealous."
He's like, "I'm a little aggravated." He's like, "If I'm being honest," he's like, "because all of our first videos, ours included, was like." They're trash. Like, let's be honest. I mean,
I tell people all the time.
Your first video was Weston, right? If you haven't seen it, all you have to do is hit the search on your YouTube and do oldest, and it'll pull up his very first video. And it's Weston out there with a .22 rifle chasing an armadillo
with no shirt on.
And it was the cutest thing. Because what was Weston? Probably 7 or 8, 9 then, or maybe 10.
No, he was probably young. Yeah, 6 or 7.
Okay, yeah. So he's trying to shoot this armadillo, and finally he gets literally within 4 foot of it.
Well, he shoots at it he shoots like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
he doesn't
he's
even get
missing.
close to it. And he's like 20 yards away, and every shot he gets a little closer, and the armadillo doesn't even know he's there.
Yeah, he doesn't even care.
No.
And when he finally shoots it, he's only like 4 foot from it. I mean, and he gets so excited. He's like doing all this stuff.
He's got this little bolt action .22 cricket. It's a .22 rifle, but they're real short. And he takes that little bolt and he like kicks that shell out. He's like, "Oh yeah,"
Like. But then Sarah launches her video yesterday or Thursday this week, and Daniel's like, "That looked like something off the Travel Channel."
Yeah, I'm like, somebody filmed that for Pensacola Tourism 2022. Like, it's next level videography, like sound, everything.
It's just a difference though. But I told him it's so different, and I don't want to say it's easier because she's starting all over, and she does have a lot of support. I mean, DJ gave her a shout out yesterday, which at the conference, which is huge, and obviously we give her shout out. She's not leaving our channel. We got the same thing you guys got with DJ. The second Sarah launched her channel, was like, she's not going to be on the Cameraman Ron channel anymore. She's gone forever. And
what people said? They're getting divorced.
Yeah, they're getting divorced. No, it's nothing like that. It's just what Sarah wants to do with her channel might not fit on our channel. Right. And it's in which I totally respect that. I want her to enjoy what she's doing. And that was the whole reason we started the other channel for her. But it is funny because if you look at like my first video I put on YouTube compared to the video, I mean, the video Sarah dropped Thursday. If you guys haven't checked, that's really good. But she did a very, very good job. And it's years of like knowing how to edit and the equipment we've acquired now. And it sounds really good and it looks really good. A lot of people don't have that rocking out for their first video.
No, I tell people all the time, they're like, I want to start a YouTube channel. What I do, I'm like, you go out there and you post about 50 videos.
Yeah.
And after all of those suck and you kind of look comfortable on camera, then you might start making something.
Was it back in the beginning, was it hard for you to whip out a camera in public?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Was it?
It still can be. Like, I can do it, but like my family still gets really awkward.
See, I've got my family trained. My kids used to be mortified. Now I don't care where I'm at. If I'm in a TSA line at the airport, I want to film something, camera's flying out. Like they just know.
But
now.
I will say this: you can break one of these out in public.
Yeah.
Nobody bats an eye.
You break one of those out in public.
Any camera with a microphone on it.
Yeah.
You put a microphone on top of a camera, and people think it's a squirrel sitting up there that's got rabies.
I've never heard it put like that.
I'm serious.
Okay, yeah,
though.
but you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
They're like, whoa, what is that?
What's
You know?
happening? Yeah,
And they can be 20 feet away from you, and they're like ducking behind somebody. You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. This to see the evolution of where, I mean, and everybody does it now. Like it's, if you'd have told me, I've told people this all the time, and I've told the audience this, that if you'd have told me 3 years ago that I'd be sitting in my own office in downtown Pensacola, Florida, talking with Daniel Arms on a podcast, I would have laughed you out of the building. I've been like,
who's Daniel Arms?
No, I knew who you were, but there was no chance that you knew who I was. That was the issue. I knew who you were, but you definitely didn't. So for me, and I've told Daniel for this, every now and then I'll send Daniel a text, and I truly mean this, and it's not just talk. I don't mind sending you guys texts and be like, I truly appreciate the opportunities I have with the people that I have them with. And I sincerely mean that. It's, everybody doesn't have the luxury of picking up a phone and texting Daniel Arms and getting, firsthand advice. And I never take that for granted. I really don't. It's so vital. It's been so vital to the success of our channel that I don't know that there's anything else out there that could have been any more empowering for us than to have people like you in our lives to help us out along the way. And we're so appreciative of that. We really are.
And that I've experienced the same thing with other creators, other people. I mean, it feels like a lot of times people think that if you're a YouTube creator, you can't share your secrets. That's why we did that whole video creators conference, is because people need to work together. They need to go, hey, I've been doing this for 2 years, and here's my experience, and here's what I've learned. And there's somebody that's just starting. I could help them, but then there's also somebody above me. And like for me personally, like Jimmy Houston, like the man he's not a big time YouTube creator, but he's been on television. He's been an outdoor television producer, on a show, on his own television show for 44 years.
Yeah.
And he called me asking for help with YouTube, but I'm like, wait a minute. This man's a legend. He knows more about sponsors and the outdoor industry than any 50 people I know. Yes, I can help him a little bit with YouTube, but there's a world of knowledge that I've been able to get from him, Well, and I can just call him up and say, hey, how would you handle this sponsorship?
Yep.
And an hour later, he's still telling me how I should handle it, but he has that much knowledge.
But the thing about it is, I mean, you for a prime example, like for me, like if you want an exact example of what I'm talking about, merchandise, you guys spent countless hours figuring it out. You went through 4 or 5 different companies. You went through 4 or 5 different programs trying to figure out how to make it work. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to do that. And the reason I didn't have to do that was because I picked up the phone and I called Daniel and I was like, hey, thinking about selling some t-shirts. What should I do? All that knowledge that you guys gained. Now, there's people out
there. Say, hey, call this guy.
Yeah, and there's people out there who's scared to death to do that. They're scared to death to ask somebody, whether they be, I mean, even if Daniel wasn't bigger than me, I don't care if Daniel's got 20,000 subscribers like we do. If he's willing to share that knowledge, I'm willing to take it. Don't be scared to ask people for knowledge that they're willing to share with you. And it's not about size. It's about if you find somebody that's got these like life lessons that they've already been taught and put countless, and they're willing to share that information with you, take it. Like by all means, it doesn't lessen what you're doing.
Right.
And I think people, I think that's a misconception, especially in the content creation world, that if Daniel gives me information and I use it, I'm cheating. Mm-hmm. And no, you're not. You're bypassing a process of making mistakes that you can move forward and make other mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes. There's no question you're going to make mistakes through the process of this. That's just one you can avoid by using a vast knowledge that somebody else gives you, that you're a little bit ahead of the game.
A lot ahead of the game.
Yeah, and 100. Yeah, a lot. I mean, I tell people all the time, we would not be where we are without a Brant Peacher and a Daniel Arms and those kind of guys. What they have, and it's not just, I mean, everybody thinks, well, yeah, when you can be on Daniel Arms' channel with his 720,000 subscribers, that does a little bit for you. It does, but
shout outs only go so far.
Right, definitely, 100%.
A shout out's just going to get you an influx of subscribers, maybe.
Yeah,
not always.
Not always. Yeah,
maybe, but you've got to keep those people. That's
Yes.
the biggest
You
problem
have-
people
yep.
struggle with is,
Well-
I can say, hey, go watch so-and-so's channel. My viewers may go over there and click on them, but you've got to be able to keep those people.
I love my favorite thing, and I promise we're going to wrap this up because I've held Daniel hostage way longer than normal. I knew it was going to be longer though because I love talking to Daniel. But my favorite thing, I'll get a message, even at our size, like, "Hey man, I'd love to do a collaboration together." Like, all right, cool. So I'll go look at their channel. They haven't posted a video in 6 months, and I'm like, I can't remember who it was. I was with somebody bigger one time, and it was like he said, I just sent him a message back, and he's like, dude, you need to learn to collaborate with yourself first. Like, I don't mind I will collaborate with anybody. I really will. You guys know this. We've been very blessed to work with a lot of bigger names, but we've worked with some smaller names as well. And I don't mind that at all, but you've got to be willing to put in the work. Because me getting on my channel, or Daniel, if Daniel gets on his channel right now and he says, hey, go check out Cameraman Ron, which you've done, which we are greatly appreciative. If they come over to my channel and they see I haven't posted a video in 3 months, they're gone. They're not going to subscribe. They're not going to watch anything. The good thing for us is I understood a long time ago, shout outs are great. Being present is king. Like it's fine for Daniel to give me a shout out, post whatever in the script. That's fine. But when I'm present on his videos, I get more out of that than anything else we do. Where if we're just fishing together, I don't need to tell people, hey, go check out the Cameraman Ron channel. They're gonna see it and they're like, who's this guy? Like, and they're gonna do their own thing. And if they like you, they're gonna come over and they're gonna stay. And that you just be present. You don't have to have, it's not gonna do you any good to call Daniel and be like, hey, give me a shout out, man. And Daniel's like, oh, go check out ABC Farm in Pensacola, Florida. And it's like, they don't know you. They have no reason to go look at your stuff, and especially if you're not posting.
But I've also, I've done that. And one of the things that Dutch and I used to do a lot was we would just find channels that were small, but that were channels that we enjoyed watching, and just give them a shout out and not tell them. I did that to John too.
Yeah.
Creek Fishing Adventures.
Yeah, we talk about that, yeah.
Like I enjoyed that because for me coming up through the ranks as a YouTuber, like there were very few big channels that would help you out. There were very few big channels that would even talk to you.
Yeah. Oh,
or
I know.
respond to you. So I knew what it felt. Even when I had 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers, if I could find a channel that I enjoyed watching, that was producing good content, that I felt like had potential, but they may only have 3,000 subscribers, I would just do a random video, and at the end of it be like, hey, I've been watching this channel called blah, 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 Cameraman Ron, and here's what he does, and I really enjoy watching it. Hey, why don't you guys go over and subscribe, and just tell him Daniel from Arms Family Homestead sent you in it. But you don't tell that person. I'm telling you what, it makes their day more than anything.
You can't imagine.
And so
if you're getting 10 subscribers a day, and then you wake up one day and you gain 500, you're like, what in the world? What happened?
when you're that small, you get an email every time someone subscribes.
Yeah, and it's like,
so when somebody wakes up one morning, they're like, I have 2,000 emails.
Yeah.
What?
What just
and then
happened?
100 or 2,000 comments that say Daniel from Arms Family Homestead sent you.
And that is a great feeling for sure.
But that's not what's going to grow a channel.
No, that will get you an influx.
That's a bonus or a plus. That's a feel good thing, but that's not what's going to grow a channel.
Yeah, you got to be consistent and persistent is the number one keys to growing a channel, no doubt. So I do want to come out at some point and go deer hunting with you. That's one of my next goals. I don't know if we can make that happen this year because we've been on the road so much this year, but I definitely want to come out and do a deer hunt with you. I've got some things planned that I think would be really, really funny for a video. So
you have to go back and watch some of the years past deer hunting videos. I don't know if you've seen, like when we had this problem when me and Emily or me and Houston would go deer hunting, the dogs, Gemma and Earl, be in the house whining, so they'd let them out. Like, I've got some old deer hunting videos where Gemma, that dog would find us anywhere on our property and come straight to us. And then she's running around the field, jumping in the grass. I'm like,
so it's the only reason they bought the Mill Creek property, just so they could go over and get away from Gemma. So, but no, that is definitely a bucket list item. I definitely want to come out and do that. But thank you so much for being on.
Bring an ice chest.
I definitely will. So, but definitely appreciate you being on with us. Like I said, it's invaluable for us to be able to sit down and do these. Of course, I've got all of everybody we mentioned today. I've got their stuff linked down. DJ's channel's down there. Sarah's channel, of course, Arms Family Homestead channel's down there. Make sure you guys check them out. We sincerely appreciate y'all's support on all these podcasts. Thank you so much for everything you've done for Sarah and I.
So I guess I want to end by saying this. Social media, this whole social media is going to end our world. Everybody's like, oh, the social media is the devil and that's going to end America. Maybe so. But I've met some of my very best friends in the world. When we had our ATV accident, was the scariest day of my life. But I mean, 2 of our kids flew out on a helicopter that day. And when my phone started blowing up, I had more calls and more text messages from people around the country faster than I did my hometown.
Yeah.
And it was because 1 or 2 of those guys found out. It was right before Dutch and Kevin's Okie Homestead conference. There were a bunch of guys together, and they found out about it, and word spread. And I had guys from all over the country calling me, like Hank Hamiltonville Farm. Hank calls me, hey, I'm on my way. You tell me what I need to do. Dude, you're 15 hours away.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll drop what I'm doing. I'm headed that way.
Yeah.
There were people locally that would do the same thing. Don't get me wrong. But it blew my mind at how many. It shows you who your real friends are.
Yeah.
And who people really care. Guys that I had never met in person were, calling and offering anything they could do.
That was I will tell you this, and I said before the recording stopped, I don't know how much it made. I was thanking Daniel for everything him and DJ have done for us, and truly appreciate them. It's the only video of yours I haven't been able to watch. When you guys did the podcast, I couldn't watch that one. I knew, because it's different for you guys when you all see, and even for me when I was just a fan, to know that had happened to you all. It's way different when you love somebody too. And as a friend, when you have love for somebody and you know that they went through that, and to see them have to relive that, I couldn't watch. There was the one video that I couldn't watch of yours just because I'd already talked to Daniel. Obviously, I knew everything that had already gone on, and it was just, it's tough. And you're right. It's like you can't take into account how close you become to people.
Right.
And it's when you're around like-minded people, when you're with other content creators like we are. I still have all my original friends. I don't want to make it sound like that. Like Sarah and I we keep a pretty tight circle. Before content creation, I could count on one hand the number of like true close friends I had. And those people are still very, very important to me. But I have like my closest friends now, like you said, are content creators. They really are. Like I honestly, I probably don't talk to anybody else more than I talk to you and Brant. Like that's the 2 people I talk to more on a weekly basis than anybody else. So
and Snapchat, that's what brings it on.
We do a lot of Snapchat. So I tell people all the time, like when we're all old and gray. I said this on the podcast when I did with Brant. When we're all old and gray, we should all, and we don't care anymore. We can 100% not care what people think anymore. We should make memoirs of our Snapchats and our group text that we all have, and just be like, just redact all the names and just put it out there. Brant said we would need to be in a position where we had plenty of money for legal fees to fight all the lawsuits that would ensue after posting that. So
my goodness. Can you imagine, like, we're like 80, 90 years old. Back in my day, son, all we had was Snapchat.
That's right.
And you couldn't just talk to them through your wrist, and you had to actually have a phone in our hand.
Had to have a phone in our hand when we were back there. So. But guys, again, thank you all so much for all the love and support on this podcast. It really means the world to us that we're able to do this. I've got everybody's stuff linked down in the description box below. Our channel, obviously, you're watching. We've got Arms Family. We've got DJ's channel, Sarah's channel. Everybody that we talked about in today's video, they'll be linked down in the description box below. But thank you guys, for coming and sitting down with me, taking the time. I truly appreciate it. We're actually getting ready to go to a conference and listen to Jason from Cog Hill Farm talk. So we're excited about that this afternoon. Jason's a good friend of Daniel's. I've met him a time or two, so really excited to head out there. But we're going to wrap this one up. We greatly appreciate you. Because anything else you want to add before we completely close the button off here?
I think we've added it and added it. And
yeah, this is going to be in 2 episodes, maybe 3. by the way the timer's looking over here. So, but guys, we truly appreciate you joining us for this. We can't wait to see you on the next one. Y'all take care, and we'll see you soon.
Do your best.
Did you really just hang on? No, wait. I got something for you. Hang on. Let me switch it over, and then we'll go.
Now do it. Do your best. There you go. Donkey squats. I always make fun of her because, hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. We'll see you soon.